All right, so we're going to start with section 1.1. Are there any that you guys want me to go over? There, 1 through 6 are the problem numbers. So in section 1.1, yes. Okay, number 6 says your friend says 500 is 10 times as great. I want you guys to notice 10 times as great. We talked about this when we did this lesson a long time ago. When I see the word times, that means I'm multiplying. I'm making something bigger. Okay, as great. Something should be getting bigger. So it says that 500 is 10 times as great as 5,000. That means that 500 is 10 times bigger. Okay, is that true? Is 500 10 times bigger?
No.
But no. Okay, so we're going to put no. To make this correct, because 500 is smaller, we would say that 500 is 1/10 as much as 5,000. We have to rephrase that. This is really important whenever we get to multiplying with fractions later on in math, because when you are multiplying fractions, it's making something smaller. You're taking, think about 1/10 of a number. Okay, 1/10 of a number is going to make that number smaller. So I want you to understand the concept behind this. When I say 10 times as great, it should be making a number get bigger. So 500 should be bigger than 5,000, and it's not. So we would put no, because 500 is actually 1/10 as much as 5,000. Okay, another one in the first section.
Less. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of you on your own, you may have put 500 is less than 5,000. That's okay too. You're explaining that 500 is just smaller than 5,000. As long as you understand that it doesn't work because 500 is smaller, it's not 10 times greater, you're on the right track. Yep. Okay, any others in section 1.1? All right, moving down to 1.2. Any that y'all would like me to go over in section 1.2? It starts on page 59 and then it continues on. Okay, coming back to this section, we skipped a lot in 1.1. We're just going to work through as much as we can until it's time to go, because we only have a few more minutes before we leave. So looking at number 1 in the 1.1 section on page 59, it says, what number is 10 times as great as 4,000? What should you have here? 40,000. Very good. Number 2, what number is 1/10 of 8,000? Very good. 800. Number 3, 10,000 is 10 times as great as what number? 1,000. Very good. And 70 is 1/10 of what number? It's 1/10, so it's 70 is smaller. What? 700. It's 1/10 of 700. So it came from a bigger number. 1/10 of a bigger number. Okay, our chart below is wanting us to write each of these numbers in 2 different ways. So 600 is my number first. 10 times as great as 600 makes 6,000. 1/10 of 600 is 60. 10 times as great as 9,000 is 90,000. 1/10 of 9,000 is 900. And 10 times as great as 20,000 is 200,000. 1/10 of that number is 2,000. Okay, moving down to number 7. I'm going to write this number in word form, so I'm just going to read it first. I got to read it before I can write it. How do I say the standard form of that number? How do I read it?
456,701.
Beautiful. 456,000, comma, 701. And we don't want to put 701 because and replaces a decimal point. So it's just 701. Expanded form could be 4 times 100,000, or I could do 400,000 plus 5 times 10,000, or you could have written 50,000 plus 6 times 1,000, or plus 6,000. Depending on how you did it, it's going to be different. And if I'm writing, you should be writing or at least checking over. And then I have plus 7 times 100, or you could have written 700 plus 1 times 1, or just 1.
Was it okay that I added the 0?
Either way is fine. Yep, and you can add in that 0 for the tens. You don't have to though. Page 60. So at the top here, 9 or 8 through 12. Any of these that we need to go over before we move on? Number 8, let's look at number 8. It says compare the values of the 4s in the number 900,441,358. So I'm looking at the 4s. I have a 4 in, what is the first 4? What place is this? I heard somebody start to say it. 100.
400,000?
It's 400,000. So it's the 100,000s place. Okay, so we're going to put 400,000, the value of that first 4, is how many times as great as 40,000 would be the next number, because I have a 4 in the 10,000s place. So if I have 4 10,000s, that's 40,000. How many times as great is it? 10. It's only 10 times as great if it's just one place away. If I had had a 4 where this 1 is in the thousands place, then it's 2 places away. So how many times greater would it be? It would be 100, right? Not 10, it would be then 100. Okay. Any others in section 1.2 before we go to 1.3? Number 9 says write the values of the 6s in the number 96,672. So I'm looking at both of the 6s. Okay, I have a 6 in the thousands place. So if I have 6 1,000s, how much is that? 6,000. And if I have a 6 in the hundreds place, how much is that worth? 600. 600s is equal to 600. Any others in 1.2? Comparing? Y'all feel okay? It's just comparing whole numbers, not decimals yet. Okay, how about section 1.3? It's a pretty small section, but do we have any questions on writing a fraction or a mixed number as a decimal to the tenths? Okay, how about 1.4? Same thing, but to the hundredths, and then same thing again, but this time I have to take the number in words and put it as a mixed number, fraction, and a decimal. We feel okay on that? Okay, we'll come back and we'll start going through as much as we can in a minute. Okay, here's my next section.
Do you have to do a multiplication on the test?
No, I'll look at
Or
both.
is it okay?
Yeah, I'll look at both.
I just learned the plus way.
You're okay. Okay, comparing whole numbers. So this is kind of like going one digit at a time again. I have a 9 in the thousands place. I have a 1 in the hundreds place in both numbers. But in the tens place, I have a 1 here, but not here. So which one's bigger? This number with the 1 in the tens place. I have more tens than I do in the other number. Okay, what did y'all get on number 11? Greater than or less than or equal to? Greater than, because 802 is greater than 82. Number 12 should be what? Greater than, because 498,000 is more than 477,000. Okay, number 13, what's the decimal look like? 0.7, 0.2, 5.9, and 21.3. Okay, guys, we're getting close. Hang tight. We've got about one more minute. On this one, 0.20, 0.05, 6.65, 27.01, 27.01. Okay, 29 hundredths written as a fraction is 29 over 100. The decimal is 0.29. Fix it if you need to fix it, guys. Check it and fix it. Check, check, and fix it. Fix it, check, and fix it. Okay. Yeah, if you wrote your decimal first, then your fraction, that's fine. Okay, number 22 is 48 and 19 hundredths. 48 and, that means it's a mixed number. 19 hundredths. And this would be 48.19. Okay. Let's keep going. What about section 1.5, writing decimals to the thousandths? Yes. 31. Okay, it says you buy 1,000 stickers for your water bottles. You decide to put 4 stickers on your bottles each week. After 1 year, what fraction of the stickers will not be on your water bottle? So not is italicized because it wants you to notice that we are going to have to do an extra step. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to figure out if I'm doing 4 stickers on a bottle each week. First, I need to know how many weeks are in a year. How many weeks are in a year? 52 weeks equals 1 year. So then I'm going to take 52, I'm going to multiply it by 4 because I do 4 stickers a week. So when I do that, I end up with 208 stickers a week. No, a year, sorry. But it says after 1 year, what fraction of the stickers will not be on your water bottles? So then what do I have to do?
You have to subtract that from 1,000.
I got to subtract 208 from 1,000. So I'm going to do my subtraction. I'm going to take 1,000 minus 208, and this requires me to do a lot of borrowing and regrouping. So coming all the way over here to my 1, to make this a 10, I'm going to make this 99. So 10 minus 8 is 2, then 9 minus 0 is 9, 9 minus 2 is 7. So I end up, and I'm writing this as a fraction first, so 792 out of how much? 1,000. And the decimal looks like what? 0.
790.
Very good. Okay,
Will there be a question like this on our test again?
If there's one on your test review, then yes, there will be one on your test because your test review is almost identical to your test. Okay, what about section 1.6? Place value with decimals. Standard, word, expanded, and then comparing. Do I need to go over any of these? 32. Okay, let's look at 32 first. So it gives me a number in expanded form. So I'm given this number here. So this section, now remember, sometimes you can put parentheses around them to make it look a little easier to see how they're breaking it up. Because each of these is representing 1 digit. It's showing me how to get the value of 1 digit. So I have 5 times 1. That means that's 5. Okay, that's my whole number. That's my ones digit. Then notice I have numbers that are less than 1. So I have to put my decimal. And how many tenths do I have? How many tenths do I have? I have 3 tenths. So I put 3. How many hundredths do I have? 8. How many thousandths? Okay, this is my standard form. Now word form, I have to be able to read that. So how do I read this number? Who can read? Okay, yes, go for it.
5 and 384,000.
Yes, and I'm just going to write it. So 5 and, if I'm doing, you're doing, 300. If I'm writing, you're writing. 84 thousandths. If I'm writing, you're writing. You need to have it in your book. All of this must be completed. Okay, number 33 was also asked about. So I'm given standard form this time. I'm going to write it in word form and then expanded form. So how do I read this number? Yes.
2 and 59,000.
Mm-hmm. So 2 and 59 thousandths. And then expanded would be 2 times 1, because I have a 2 in the ones place, plus 5 times 1 hundredth, because the 5 is in the hundredths place, plus 9 times 1 thousandth, because there is a 9 in the thousandths place. Okay, any others in the 1.6 section that we should go over together? You need to have all of that written down. Yes. 34. Compare the values of the fives. Okay. Oh, these are so good. Can I just do 34 and 35 with you? Okay. All right, just so we can have more practice and go over that together. All right, the values of the fives. First, we need to locate the fives. I have a 5 in this place here. What is this place? The hundredths. And then a 5 in this place here. So I have 5 hundredths. I could write it like this. I could write it like a fraction. I could do 5 over 100. How many times as great is it than the next 5? How many places over is it from there? It's only one place, so that means it's 10 times as great. Remember, times as great means it should be a whole number, not a fraction. So we're writing the bigger number 10 times as great as the smaller number, which is 5 thousandths. The values of the eighths in the next number, I have an 8 in the tenths and an 8 in the hundredths. Which 8 is bigger? 8 tenths or 8 hundredths? 8 tenths. So I'm going to write that number first because, again, it says times as great. So 8 tenths is how many times bigger? 10 times as great as 8 hundredths. Very good. Okay. Say those numbers again. 36 through 38. Okay. The last one, we're going to knock these out real quick up here too. So this would be 735 over 1,000. Guys, if I'm writing, you're writing too, please. 51 over 1,000. 804 over 1,000. Now this one's confusing because it is 2 tenths. But if I want to write it as thousandths, what do I have to add to it? 2 zeros. You start as 2 tenths, but then you got to write it to the thousandths because that's what the directions say to do. So then you want to make sure that you add those extra zeros. Okay. Now it says write the fraction as a decimal. This would be 0.098. This would be 0.670. This would be 0. I'm going to write 4 hundredths first, but I'm writing it to the thousandths, so I got to add a 0 at the end. I'm going to write 9 tenths first, but then add 2 zeros, so it makes it 900 thousandths. Okay, that's all we have time for today. How about 1.7? Any of y'all want to go over? Okay, yes. Okay, voices off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to do all of these in this section. It's wanting us to write a given number as hundredths. So number 36, it's wanting us to write this number as hundredths and fraction and decimal form. Okay, what do I tell you you can add to the end of a decimal number that doesn't change how much it's worth, it just changes how you say it? Zero. Okay, so if I right now have 6/10, what could I do to 6/10 to make it written to the hundredths place? Yes, add a 0. Now how many hundredths do I have? 60 hundredths. And how do I write that as a decimal? I just did it. 0.60. On number 37, I want to write a number that's written to the hundredths to the tenths. So I just take the 0 away. So the fraction would be 7/10 and 0.7. And the last one is wanting me to write that number to the thousandths. But how's it written right now? It's currently written as 8, how much? Hundredths. So what do I need to do to 8 hundredths? Add a 0. Good. So it'll be 80 thousandths. And the decimal is 0.080. All you're doing is just putting a 0 at the end of it, rereading it, 80 thousandths, writing it as a fraction, 80 thousandths. Okay. How about 1.8 section, comparing? Do we need to go over any of these?
Yes.
39 through 43, which ones? 42? Okay, 42 and 43. So we're going to get our pencils ready. We're going to start stacking our numbers. Okay, first thing I want to do is list the numbers that are given. So you should be in section 1.8 right now with me. We're going to stack those numbers that are given on number 42. So I'm going to do 502.499. Then 520.499, and then 502.489. Now, what's it say? Least to greatest. So smallest first. Okay. So you guys have your pencils that you can use. I'm going to draw this box again. And I'm going to go one digit at a time. So I'm going to start with my largest digit, which is the 5 in the hundreds place. Then bump over. Can I tell which number goes first yet?
Yes. No.
Can't tell which one goes first because I have zeros in 2 of my numbers in the tens place. So I don't know which one's smaller, but I do know which one is bigger. Which one am I going to write last?
The middle one.
The middle one. So I'm going to go ahead and write this one last. I know that one's the biggest. So I move over again, my ones place. Okay, so my whole number is the same in my first and last number. I don't know which one's smaller yet. Okay, looking at my tenths place, can I tell which one's smaller? Nope. What about now? Okay, so the one that starts 502.48, that's my smallest number. So I'm going to list that one first. So I have 502.489, then 502.499. Okay, same thing for number 43. I want to write all of those numbers. What's the most important thing to remember when you're writing these numbers? It's right here in this row. What do I have to do with all? What do I have to do with them? Line them up. Good. You got to make sure your decimals are lined up. Okay. What can I plug in if I have an empty space?
0.
0 the hero. Okay. All right. So looking at these, I can't tell based on my ones place. I always start with the greatest place. Okay. I don't know which one is smallest yet, but looking at my tenths place, do I know which one goes first? Yes, the 2.13 goes first. And then which one would go next?
2.30.
2.30. How's it originally written? 2.3. And then last would be 2.33. Okay, the last section we have today is rounding decimals. It's our recent lesson that we just did. Any that you would like me to go over? Yes.
46.
46. Okay, so I have the ones digit underlined. The judge is directly to the right. Since my judge is under 5, what happens to the 8? I keep it the same. So what it's asking basically is, okay, think of it this way. My 8 is closer to 8 as a whole number or 9 as a whole number? Would it be closer to 8 or would it be closer to 9 if you're picturing it on a number line? It would be closer to 8 because 8.5 is right in the middle. It's halfway between 8 and 9. So if it's under 8.5, then it's going to be closer to 8. Yes, what number? 45. Okay, so I have a 2 in the hundredths place underlined, which means I'm looking directly to the right. My judge is 5 or more, so what happens to the 2? It goes up, and everything before that 2 stays the exact same. So it's 1.03. Let's go ahead and just do the rest in this section since we're here. Number 44, I have a 5 in the tenths place that's underlined, which means my judge is the 1 directly to the right. Since it's under 5, my rounded number will be 9.5. Good. Number 47, I'm rounding the 3 in the tens place, which means I'm using the 2 in the ones place as my judge. So would the 3 stay the same or would it go up to 4? It's going to stay the same. Now, because 2 is in the ones place, I have to make sure I include that 0 in the ones place because it's a whole number.
So you just
Think of,
to 0, whatever
uh-huh. And think about for a minute 32 point something. Is it closer to 32 or is it closer to 30 or 40? Because we're rounding to the tens place. So the 3 is either going to stay a 3 in the tens place and be 30, or it will go up to a 4 and make it 40. So 32 is closer to 30 than it is to 40. So you can think of it on a number line as well. Okay, the next one says round 176 thousandths to the nearest hundredth. This time you have to identify the place that we're rounding to. What digit am I going to be rounding?
The 7.
The 7 because it's in the hundredths place, which means that the 6 is my judge. So my answer is going to be 0.18. And then the last one, I have 6.538. Rounded to the nearest tenth. What digit is in the tenths place? What is my judge?
3.
So what's my answer? 6 point. Good. 6 and 5 tenths. Okay, really good question. This is really important. So I just had a question that said, is it okay if I put zeros after all of these numbers? Like, for example, if I were to put a 0 here, how would I now read this number if I put a 0 right here? 1 and 30 thousandths. But notice what I'm rounding to, the hundredths. So my last digit needs to be in the hundredths place. So I want to make sure I do not put zeros in my decimal number, because then it won't be written to the correct place. If I did it down here, writing this number to the nearest hundredth, the digit that's last should be in the hundredths place, not the thousandths place. I'm not rounding to the thousandths. So I don't want to have a 0 in the thousandths place. I want my last digit to be in whatever place I'm rounding to. Very good question. Okay.